Yay! It is Monday, you little sassies. October 30th, tomorrow's Halloween. To celebrate that, we're going to have a bell work that uses the word Halloween, and that's almost like learning. Let's see, book report book due by Friday, Charger Challenge in 2 days. Here's our bell work you're going to write down. That's our list of Charger Challenge kids, which apparently you learned how to correctly spell kids' names, even though they cannot spell their own names. That's an argument for a different day. And then for the bell work, you're going to have 3 sentences as opposed to our normal 2, but I made the sentences shorter and a little bit easier. But then we have to add something new in. Now you're going to have to know what the noun and the subject is, and for the verbs, what the action or boring. Once again, those of you doing the home version, we're going to go to the next screen, so this one right here, and then you're going to want to pause, because I'm sure you're not horrible cheating kids who would just sit there and listen to us when we go over it, because that would not make you smarter, and you just become dumber, and you have to drop out of school. The first step to dropping out of school is cheating on a bell work. Everyone knows it. So hit the little pause button in that area, and then come back, and we'll see how what we did together. For the rest of you, we're going to go through these here in just a moment. The boy is wearing a monster mask. I will wear a scary costume for my candy. I see some of you guys are wearing your costumes today. And then 3, Mr. Brovicast will have a haunted porch tomorrow, because I am. The only reason we're doing this, I've been wanting to do it for a long time, but 1, we had to move to a house that had a big enough front porch, and now we do it. 2, my daughters are now old enough to not care about me walking around with them. They're like, we don't like you, Daddy. And I'm like, fine, I'll do my own thing. And then ironically, now that I'm having a haunted porch, like, we want to hang out with you because the haunted porch is awesome. I'm like, no, leave my house. So that's how bonding with your children works. Back to you guys. We're going to do this as a team effort. So we're going to go through it and go through each one, and we're going to see if you guys, as long as we're all in agreement, we should be fine. When we have disagreement, it'll impact all of us. The boy is wearing a monster mask. We'll do each word as we go through. Boy is is wearing. We're not labeling it yet. That's at the end. I appreciate your eagerness. Verb. Monster.
Adjective.
Mask.
Noun.
Would you guys have known that was an adjective if I had not put that list up there?
Yes.
Because eventually we're going to get to the part where I don't put the little labely things up there. We're going to make sure you can still figure out that monster is not a noun.
What?
Now, we have, at some point, learning has to happen. For our subject, we have 2 choices. That could be our subject. What are our 2 choices?
Boy.
One of those nouns is actually doing the action in the sentence. That is what makes it the subject. Your subject does the action. And our noun that is the subject is?
Boy.
There you go. Boy is going to be our subject. Then for our verbs, we have to know whether it is going to be boring or action. If it's boring, there is a set list of words, which hopefully you have written down somewhere. The am, is, are, was, were, has, have, had, will.
Boring.
Alright. So is action or boring?
Boring.
Nicely done. Nicely done. Wearing?
Action.
Simple as that. Told you I was trying to make it not impossible on you. Well done. 1 sentence down. I will wear a scary costume for my candy. Starting off with I.
Pronoun.
Will.
Verb.
Wear.
Verb.
Scary.
Adjective.
Costume.
Noun.
For.
Preposition.
How many of you guys tried to put that as a conjunction? Just checking. That's very honest, isn't it? My.
Adjective.
Candy.
Noun.
Say that again. Yeah, for can be both a preposition and a conjunction, but it's not conjuncticating one here. And 2, obviously it says 0 there. We have 3 options for our subject. What are our 3 objects? Or 3 objects. 3 options.
I, candy.
Nice. One of those is doing the action. Which one is doing the action?
I.
One more time. Which noun is doing this? The action?
I is not a noun.
Yeah, it is.
Well, hang on. Let's do our hand raising. Raise your hand if you say I.
I.
Costume. And candy.
That's your letter.
I is correct. I is doing the subject.
I told you it wasn't a noun.
Yeah, pronouns are nouns, one professional. And then we have our 2 verbs. Will, action or boring?
Boring.
Correct. Where?
Action.
Good, you guys. Our last sentence. Mr. Brovicast will have a haunted porch tomorrow. Mr. Brovicast is all one word, and that is?
Noun.
That's right, he is. Will?
Verb.
Have?
Verb.
Let's back up again. Have?
Verb.
Haunted.
Adjective.
Porch.
Noun.
Tomorrow.
Adverb.
And once again, if I had not put that there was one adverb, would you guys have known that tomorrow was an adverb? I'm wondering when I start taking that down and not listening, how many of you guys are going to put tomorrow as a noun? Because much like for, sometimes tomorrow can be a noun, depending on how it's used in the sentence. Mr. Brovicast, it requires us to think. Weird. All right, then back to here, our subject. We have two options. What are our two options? All right. Which one is our subject? Yeah, I tried to make it fairly easy this week, where it was always going to be the first noun in the sentence. That's not always the way it works. I will say 90% of the time it'll probably be the first noun, but sometimes we can get tricky by putting phrases at the beginning, but we'll see. But this was not tricky week. This was introducing week. Will, boring or action?
Boring.
And we'll try that again. Will?
Boring.
Okay. There was dissension. Have? We're going to do it by a show of hands, whether you think it is boring or action. You have no faith in this class. Raise your hand if you say have is boring. And raise your hand if you say have is action.
There we go.
The borings have it?
No, it's in your. No, they don't.
It is. It's boring.
I didn't look at no. Guys, you're supposed to.
Has, have, had are boring ones. But Mr. Brovicast, there's a boring one right in front of it. No. Much like this class, it is double boring. And so there's two borings in a row.
Thank you.
KH?
Why will be boring?
Why would will be boring? It is a helping verb.
Couldn't will be now?
It can be.
It's not showing
Yes, it can be.
Because it's just
I have a will.
English gods and horrible creatures.
I am will.
Then, once you have this down, clear. Question? Okay, yes, clear everything off because now you don't need anything at all. We're going to try and help you out. We're now going to take a look at a poem about caterpillars.
What about the cylinder?
We'll do that at the end. We sort of ate up that time with our issues at the beginning of class. And so I had to make sure we get your stuff first. I know. Who would have thought this class had issues? With our caterpillar poem, as we get into poems, we are going to go through and read them together and then figure out what it's about. Before we do that, two things we have to hit first. One, Morgan, it's been like a week since I introduced this. You've had a lot of time to forget. We talked about stanzas because we had to figure out who's going to be reading each stanza and stuff like that. So, Morgan, what is a stanza in a poem?
It's like a section of words.
There's a very drawn-out way of doing it, but that would work. I will take a section of words that is in a poem. Is there another way of doing it, Judy?
It's a paragraph.
Which is like a section of words, which works for me. I was going to go more paragraph, but section of words can roll. Jessup, how do we know where one stanza ends and our next stanza is going to begin? What do we have to look for? The spacey thing works for me. Well done on that one. D-Rook, in our poem, The Caterpillar, we have to figure out how many stanzas we have and how many stanzas do we have? 6. Go, you still have 6 on that one. And then from there, Bick. We also talked about the speaker in a poem, because this poem is definitely going to have a speaker in it. And you remember what a speaker is?
It's like the person telling the poem.
Nice one. So does it have to be a person? No. In this poem, it's most definitely not going to be a person. There's going to be a character in the poem that is talking directly to us, and this one's going to have it. For our caterpillar poem, we're going to go through, and I'm going to have 6 of you read our 6 stanzas, and then I'm going to read the whole thing, and then we're going to break it down and figure out what's going on in the poem as we go through and figure out all the bits that are going to be in there. Britta Tadowski, we're going to have you volunteer for stanza 1. That was very brave of you. Thank you. Sebastian, thank you for taking stanza number 2. Don't forget what stanza you're doing. We're going to have to come back and then do the whole stabbing thing. Future Star, we're going to give you stanza number 3. The girl who doesn't write her last name on things, we're going to give you stanza number 4. Girl who got her seat stolen, we're going to give you stanza number 5. And then girl we call Judy, we'll give you stanza number 6. All right. And then you're going to, if you need to get closer to see it, that is fine, because I know it's kind of small up there, and I apologize. If it doesn't work, just don't stand in front of the camera, because that would be embarrassing. But you're welcome to get closer if need be. In your loudest, prettiest, I love weird poems about bugs kind of voice. Britta Tatowski, you may begin.
Under the sleep of honeysuckle, a creeping colored caterpillar, I gnaw the fresh green top of my spray, and it let lake by lake away.
2.
Down beneath grow dandelions, daisies, old man's looking glasses, rocks flat, broken across
Rooks.
the lane. Oh, rooks flat, broken across the lane. I eat and swallow and eat again.
3.
Here come raindrops,
Helter Skelter.
helter skelter. I munch and nibble, unregarding. Hollow
Hawthorne.
hawthorn leaves are juicy and firm. I'll mind my business. I'm a good worm.
4.
Old, tired, melancholy.
Not bad. Melancholy.
Melancholy. All leaves green.
Not bad. Mausoleum.
Close by, here on this lovely spray, and die and dream the ages away.
Yay. 5.
Some say worms when resurrection, with white wings, leaves and tear flutter, but wings are sense. Why should I care? Either way, I'll miss my share.
6.
Under the sleep of honeysuckle, a hungry, hairy caterpillar, I crawl on my high in the swinging seat and eat, as one out to eat.
Nailed it. Woo, caterpillars. Alright, I'll read through it, then we're going to break it down stanza by stanza. Under the slip of honeysuckle, a creeping colored caterpillar, I gnaw the fresh green hawthorn spray. I nibble it leaf by leaf away. Down beneath grow dandelions, daisies, old man's looking glasses, rooks flap croaking across the lane. I eat and swallow and eat again. Here come raindrops, helter skelter. I munch and nibble unregarding. Hawthorn leaves are juicy and firm. I'll mind my business. I'm a good worm. When I'm old, tired, melancholy, I'll build a leaf green mausoleum close by here on this lovely spray, and die and dream the ages away. Some say worms win resurrection, with white wings beating flitter flutter, but wings or a sound sleep, why should I care? Either way, I'll miss my share. Under the sloop of honeysuckle, a hungry, hairy caterpillar, I crawl on my high and swinging seat, and eat, as one ought to eat. Yay!
Punching.
I know. This seems so poetic. Weird. Stanza 1, the one we just read from there. Ooh, way back when we first did the interviews, where you guys got into groups and you had to do a little postery thing and the speechy thing, I introduced you to something called alliteration. We have an example of alliteration in our first stanza. But the first question is, what is alliteration, D-Dub?
When the words all start with the same, same letter.
Or sound.
Consonant, yeah.
Which would be nice one. And what is our example of alliteration?
Creeping colored caterpillar.
Nice one. The creeping colored caterpillars are alliteration from there. Then let's go through, let's figure out what words are. Honeysuckle, it says under the sloop of honeysuckle. Even if you've never heard of honeysuckle, hopefully you can use the poem to help guide you. Strain.
It's not my last name.
Strong. How do you want me to say it?
Strawn.
Strong. I did that. Strong. It's like strong without the
That's
G.
how my sister pronounces it.
Strong. I didn't have your sister.
I know, but
Strong. Focus.
Okay, sorry. What was the question again?
What is honeysuckle?
Honeysuckle is like this little, kind of like a little plant that has honey.
Nicely.
Not really. It tastes like.
It does. Nicely done. It does. It tastes like honeysuckle. It's a. Oh. Tomorrow we will finish the last 12 stanzas of our poem and do more learning from there. It's a math joke.